How we doing? It's Mailman Nick. Follow me on Instagram at Nick Venti. If you enjoy this content, please give us a thumbs up. Don't treat us like 204Bs over here. And obviously, these are our own thoughts and opinions, and we do not speak on behalf of the Postal Service. So, Mike, thank you for coming back on. I really appreciate it. A lot of people liked your interview on our last interview. I wanted to ask you a few questions. I know you got a big event coming up next week, and we'll talk about where people can get information on that. But I wanted to ask you first, is there any new updates to this contract? You know, when is voting? Do you think it's going to go to arbitration? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, we're going to know soon enough, man. And it's hard to say, like, for example, your post office, how many people you think voted, like, percentage wise in the ratification vote? You got any idea?
A few people said they were going to vote, but a lot of people didn't talk about it. I'm like, this is about your money. Like, that's important to me. Like, that's number one on my mind. Like, not a lot of people were talking about it. Maybe they just don't want to talk about it like that. But a few people said they voted, but a lot of people didn't say nothing or not too much about it.
Yeah, it was, I think at first, you had a lot of people, talking about it, and it was the talk of the town, but it just kind of dragged on and on and on and on. And I don't know. There's a significant number of people that just didn't vote. And there's also people that probably never even got their ballot or never even checked to see if they got it, depending on where their mail goes for the union and stuff. But anyway, we'll know. Well, we'll start knowing starting tomorrow. The balloting committee is headed out to Minneapolis. There's a company that counts the ballots for us out there outside of Minneapolis. And so they're going to be out there monitoring that process starting tomorrow. All the ballots have to be in the P.O. box that they're going to draw from starting tomorrow. So tomorrow being January 27th. So if you haven't voted yet, you didn't get a chance to vote. But it looks like, I would say somewhere, I don't know, it's just a guess, but from things we've been hearing and just the vibe or whatever, maybe about 50% of the active carriers will vote, which will be a little bit of an uptick. The two contracts ago, 83,000 ballots were cast. Last contract, only 63,000. If we get, 85, 90,000, some people are optimistically looking for 100,000 ballots. I mean, the more people participate, the better. This is your union, Exactly. And we all joined the union voluntarily. Nobody forcing you to pay dues. So just one basic, thing about being in this union is, let us know if you like the contract, yes or no. Right. It's your right as a carrier to vote it up or down. So hopefully we get participation. How long will it take them to count the ballots? We don't know. They use the same balloting company for the 2022 national election. But of course, the national election has all these different officer positions. And so it's a little bit more complicated to count the ballots. This one is a simple accept or reject. But they will categorize all the ballots based on branch. So every single branch of the NALC, there's about 1,600 branches around the country. We're going to know how many ballots were cast in that branch, and we'll know the number that accepted the contract or rejected the contract within that branch. Probably about 3 days to do the counting, but I really don't know, and I haven't gotten a firm answer from anyone on the balloting committee. But this week, we're going to know this week where we stand, and then we'll know. I mean, if we vote yes, that's our contract. That's that. We move on to the next fight. I mean, I don't like the terms, but you win some, you lose some, and if that's what happens, if that's the will of the members of the NALC, then we all have to live with that, right? And then if it's voted down, then we're looking at what is our next step. And I know, at least for us in our Caref for Prayers campaign, we've been having a lot of dialogue, and I've been talking with people around the country about what our next step would be if we vote this thing down. And I think we got to do two things. One is, at the last convention, we passed a couple resolutions that call for rallies at pivotal points in the contract negotiations. And we vote this thing down and we go to arbitration. That's a pivotal point, man. And let's get out there. So I would propose a day of action, rallies around the country, get the public on our side. They want good service as well as we do. Strong post office, strong rights and pay for the workers that deliver your mail. I think that's something everyone can get behind. And also the APW, they're in the middle of their contract negotiations, so maybe they want to get in on it. But, basically we plan for a day of action. I'm looking into, and I've already requested a permit for us to have a march in Washington from NALC headquarters to LaFlante Plaza, USPS headquarters, because if it goes to arbitration, both sides need to know what we're looking for out of the contract and what would be acceptable as a result. And coincidentally enough, my brother, if you march or walk from NALC headquarters to LaFlante Plaza, it just happens to be 1.3 miles. So I think
what a coincidence.
What a coincidence, man.
Can't make that
so
stuff
I think
up.
that we can handle that. I think the letter carriers of this nation, and our supporters, we can handle that. And the other thing, I was going to say two things. The other thing would be we're going to have to let President Renfroe know here's what we want out of a contract, because obviously he, 20 months of tireless negotiating, and he comes up with this contract, and obviously he thinks that this is sufficient. And if the members vote yes, then he's right. If the members vote no, then he's wrong and it's not sufficient. And now we're going to have to make sure that he does know what would be sufficient. So giving the members the opportunity to participate in that process through some type of survey or some type of, polling or whatever, or letter writing, or, we're working on a couple of options there, which we'll let you guys know. If we do vote it down, hey, we have some plans in place. We're ready to move forward from there.
Right. So there's been some misinformation in like my comment section and Reddit where people say if they don't cast their vote, it's automatic yes vote. Is that true?
No. They're only going to count the ballots that are cast.
Okay.
If you don't have an opinion, if you're ambivalent, it doesn't count one way or another. The ballots that are cast, like I say, last time it was 63,000 ballots. About 58,000 or something were yes, accepting the terms, and it was only 5,000 or 6,000 that were against it. So we'll see how this one turns out. But yeah, only the ballots that are mailed in are going to be counted.
Okay. Another thing I want to ask you too, because a lot of people asked me, they said I didn't get my ballot in the mail yet. What do you recommend? Because it's obviously too late now for the next contract. What would a carrier do if they didn't get their ballot in the mail? Like, who do they contact? And
there's a couple of things we got to do. Obviously, any individual member can contact NALC and update their address. When you sign up for the union, you sign the PS Form 1187, and you put your address down, and that's your address until you change it. If you moved, you had stuff sent to your mom's house or whatever, and then you went off on your own and you don't check the mail at your mom's house. Just because you change your address with the Postal Service, it doesn't change it with the union. So there's that. Obviously, that's always an option. Another thing we probably need to kind of tighten up is a lot of the branches people will inform their local union steward or their local branch of a new address, and that information is not always given to NALC headquarters. And so maybe we can work on a system where every branch is updating their roster and their mailing addresses for their members, maybe once a year, once every 6 months or something like that. Put something in play where this doesn't keep happening. But the other thing, we should not have sent out the booklet. The actual tentative agreement is something that almost nobody is going to read because you have access to it, online if you want to, and the print is larger. You can kind of see stuff better than that little booklet. But mailing that little booklet caused a lot of ballots not to be delivered or delayed or whatever, because the Postal Service, and this is just one more knock against the Postal Service in their environment right now, they don't know how to handle non-machinable mail. We know that. We've seen that. We've delivered shit that's like, wait a second, this was sent out like 30 days ago or whatever, and it's because it's non-machinable. It can't go through the DPS machine, and it's, sitting in some plant or post office somewhere. And we saw that a lot with this election. And unfortunately, I think that caused some people, and I don't know how many, but some people to not get their ballots at all, or they requested a replacement and they did the same thing with the replacement. I mean, The replacement, they could have said, okay, we're just going to send you the envelope, with the ballot and the return envelope, without the actual tentative agreement, which would have made it just a regular first class piece. Go through the DPS machine, you would have got it in 2 to 5 days or whatever, and then you could have returned it. But anyway, that system was not put in place, and I think vast majority of people that wanted to participate had that opportunity. But you don't want to ever hear about anybody that didn't have the opportunity to participate. That's always our goal, is to make sure that every single member, you're paying your dues, that you should have a right to participate in this referendum on the contract.
Right, 100%. So the weather, it's been like very cold. Like last week, it's been negative. Like the one day was -7, felt like -26. What advice would you give carriers who aren't used to this type of weather, like new carriers and stuff? What type of advice would you give them delivering in this cold weather?
I don't know if I got any better expertise than you do, but the layers work, man. The Vaseline works. Keeping your feet dry at all times. That's why I always say, carry an extra pair of socks. Because I do talk to a lot of the new carriers coming in, and they'll ask questions like that. Carry an extra pair of socks in case your socks get wet. You're screwed. Like you have to put your feet up there on the blower. You got to dry your feet off, and you got to put on new socks, and the overshoes, the what we used to call galoshes or rubbers and all that. But now they got better equipment. That shit works, man. It keeps your feet dry. Some of the stuff is lightweight, which helps you move around a little bit better. But main thing to me in the winter has always been the layers and keeping your feet dry. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, staying a lot of layers, making sure I have double socks, sometimes a thermal socks, stuff like that. Make sure just layer up and wear the face mask, and I wear glasses, so sometimes it fogs up, but you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. You ever use those the hand warmer things or the feet warmer things?
Yeah, someone on my route gave some to me, the hand warmers, toe warmers. They work for maybe like 5-6 hours, and then they stop, and I'm like, by the time it gets dark, I'm like, dang, I got to put some new ones in there. So
man, look, when it gets dark in the winter, you really shouldn't be out there.
Right.
It's like the whole world changes. As long as it's during the day and the sun is out, even if it's cold out, you just kind of keep moving, and it's definitely, something you got to adapt to, but it's bearable. But once it gets dark and it's really cold out there, you probably shouldn't be out there. I mean, it's just not really safe. I mean, you can make an argument that it's safe, and every individual carrier has to make that call, but that's why one of the main things I think we need to look at with the contract is, what are the start times, Exactly. And if we're talking about parcel delivery and stuff like that, I can see a late start time. You pick up the stuff that's delivered to the post office and you want to get it delivered that day, and maybe you have a 12 o'clock to 8 o'clock, time frame for a truck driver kind of thing, like a full-time truck driver route. But your regular door-to-door letter carrier routes, we shouldn't be starting after 8 a.m. in any circumstances. And depending on what time it gets dark in different areas, you shouldn't never be scheduled to work in the dark. And, as well as I do, man, a lot of times it might be 8.5, 9.5 hour day. And it becomes a lot longer and harder because that last portion of the day is in the dark.
Exactly.
It just shouldn't be that way. In the summertime, we're out in the heat too long in the afternoon hours. We should be starting earlier so we can get out there when it's still cooler. In the wintertime, we shouldn't be out there when it's dark.
100%. I agree, because they moved our start time to like 8:30, and then they were talking about 9 just because parcels weren't ready. So I'm like, let's just come in early, case in our mail, and then not be out there till 8-9 o'clock at night. Like people in my office were out till 9 o'clock last week. It shouldn't be like that. But
especially that one day was really cold, and it's like, really still out there. Holy shit!
Yeah, that was a bad day. That was every relay. I had to go in my mattress and just like warm up for a few minutes, and then just get back to delivering. It was bad.
Yep.
So you have an event coming up next week. Someone's turning 50 years old, and I'm going to be there as well. So if you guys want to come, see me too. Mike's event next week. Why don't you talk a little bit more about the information, where people could get tickets or where they can contribute to the roast?
Yeah, man. So this guy that you're looking at is getting old. I'm turning 50. I'm turning 50 next Sunday. Um, which is, ironically enough, in like the union leadership, it's like they still see me as kind of young, but
Yeah.
50 is, I've lived a lot of good years, man. And
Right.
the good thing about living a lot of good years is there's a lot of funny stories to tell. And a lot of my friends and family and loved ones are lining up to take their shots. And hopefully we're going to have a great time. There's no holds barred. People are asking like, is anything off limits or whatever? I don't know what people are going to say. I'm not asking them,
Right.
just get up there and have a good time. And that's what we're doing next Sunday, February the 2nd. So there's two ways to participate. You can come to the event if you're in the Chicago area. It's going to be a whole production. We'll have music and food and drinks and just a nice environment out there at the Union Hall where we're hosting the event. Those tickets are $100. It is obviously a campaign fundraiser. So we're asking people to give if they can. The second way you can participate is through the live stream. And we hired someone to do like a real professional live stream so that you kind of feel like you're at the event. And prior to the live stream kicking off, that's why I invited you, Nick, because you can kind of get into the venue. People are going to start coming at the physical venue at 5 o'clock. We'll open up the live stream at 5 o'clock, but also, you can you'll have full access to the place. So as far as walking around, asking people little tidbits about what they plan on saying, or just, getting a feel for the thing leading up to the kickoff. We plan to start the actual roast right after 6, maybe 6 or 6:15. I don't know exactly how they have it planned out because they're roasting me, so they don't tell me all the details.
Right.
They're not trying to pre-warn me or give me any heads up about what's going on. But yeah, man, next Sunday, if you want tickets live or to the live stream, just go to the website, Caref for Prez, CAREF, the number 4, PREZ.org, careforprez.org. You can access everything. There's a tab for the 50th anniversary, 50th birthday celebration / roast. Click on there. Zelle, PayPal, Cash App. I don't know. They got it set up where you're not going to have the excuse that you don't have a means to donate. And I know it's look, everyone is tight. We haven't even gotten the 1.3% yet, and that's not nearly sufficient. So I know money's tight, but if you can't afford $20.26, one of the things about this campaign, I'm trying to run the campaign without doing the big kind of slate thing. Everyone gets together and we all vote for each other. To me, that's like dirty politics. I never liked that kind of thing. I think a person should run for the position that they want to run for, and the members should have the right to vote you up or vote you down. And the reason why people run these national slates is because it's very expensive to run a national election. So I'm trying to run this national election. If people want me to be a candidate, they're going to have to help out a little bit just by donating. But we want you to get your money's worth. I'm not asking you for no $20 and you get nothing out of it. But the more people we can get to sign up to watch this thing, it will be live and we'll tape it as well. So I'm sure there'll be a way to put it out afterwards. But it's going to be fun. There's no football next Sunday. So, you can just come out and watch this thing. Like I said, live or the live stream. And Nick, you'll be there. And I know you got a big following on your show. So you'll have access behind the scenes or, to the crowd or whatever you want to do once you get there.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited. Like I said, anybody who wants to come meet me, see Mike, somebody who's actually going to fight for the people, $20 or $100, that's cheap for, somebody who's going to actually fight for your pay and your rights. So definitely come on out if you're in the Chicago area. I know that I got carriers from Wisconsin, Indiana, stuff that's local that, not much of a drive. So come on out or watch the live stream and should be a good event.
Absolutely, man. 5 p.m. start time. So get your tickets. Look forward to seeing everyone. Look forward to it being a nice evening and pretty, hopefully a funny evening. Yeah.
Right. All right, Mike, I appreciate you coming on. Caref4prez.com, right?
.org, yes.
.org. And that's everything. Instagram, YouTube, Care for Prez.
Yep.
Awesome.
Facebook, all of that stuff. Yep.
Awesome. Thank you guys all for tuning in. Definitely, I'll link everything in the comment section of this video. Please like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.
And don't treat my man like a